Next up, let's take a peek and learn all about the features of the steering wheel. So starting off on our left-hand side, the vehicle is equipped with our adaptive cruise control system. So this first button along the top is going to be our distance indicator. So that's going to let us know how close or how far away we are from the vehicle that's in front of us. This next one is going to be the ability to either set, increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. Next one there is going to be for our lane centering system. So the lane keeping system is going to be on the left stick. The lane centering is the one that's going to automatically pull you into your lane. And you know that that system's activated when we see this little message. So when we see these little guys, I should say, those bowling lanes. So that lets us know that the system is currently turned on. Now the system itself doesn't actually activate until we hit about 60 kilometers an hour. As we start to move down a little bit more, we've got another button, and this one's going to be the actual lane centering system, and then we've got the ability to X out our speed. Along the very bottom, we can either decrease or increase our volume, or we can completely mute. Along the right-hand side there. So this is going to be the basics in order to be able to navigate through this middle screen. So a couple things to point out there. Actually, I'm in the off-road rock crawl there, so let's go back just to our normal setting there for us. Actually, let's go normal setting for a second there, and just look at how beautiful that looks as we go between our different settings. Love the fact that Ford's really incorporating these visuals, and by the way, I love this Bronco logo. It's everywhere. Love this thing. But as we start to move down the steering wheel, so a couple things to point out. We've got our basic back button, we've got our up and down button, as well as our menu button. So let's see how these things work specifically on this middle screen. So as we start to go up and down, we can switch between different screens in order to be able to reset our default. So fuel economy, all we're going to do is press and hold the OK button for a few seconds there, and it's zeroed us back out again. And as we can see, we've got the ability to press our menu in order to either look at different settings or change our setup. So basic settings on this screen are our oil life, or we can also have our miles per hour for the speed that now show up there. So miles per hour, kilometers per hour. Going back, and as we move down, so we've got our basic trip counter, same thing. We can press and hold in order to reset our trip counter, zeroed us back out. Pressing the menu button gives us the ability to change certain things. So same thing, so we're gonna go our display setup there, and it gives us that one option. As we start to move down, we've got our tire pressure sensitivity, whatever radio station's currently playing. As we start to move down, as you can see there, we've got our ability to change between either radio stations or songs. We can hang up on a phone call, or we can answer a phone call. Last button is going to be our voice activated button down there, and that's going to let us either change radio stations, we can make a phone call, or we can even navigate to certain places by pressing this voice command prompt. Now, one other thing to point out, this thing does have the paddle shifters, so that minus and plus button, you do need to be in the manual mode. So to switch to that, we're just going to hit the drive mode and press that M button there, and then switch back out to park from there in order to park the vehicle again. And we can change whatever gear we're in by pressing those buttons. Our left stick, by pulling in, that's going to give us the ability to flip our high beams on if we want to. We have auto high beams on, or auto lamps on right now, I should say, which is why there's no high beam lock. If you want the high beam lock, all we have to do is make sure that we turn this into an on setting instead, and then we've got the ability to flick in order to keep our high beams permanently on, and flick back to the auto setting from there. And a couple other things to point out, just along that left stick, the very end of it, as you can see there, we've got a button that's going to be for our lane keeping system. So we can turn that lane keeping system on or off. On our right stick, so this one is equipped with rain sensing wipers, which means this little guy is going to determine how sensitive it is to rain that's hitting the windshield. On top of that, as you can see on the very end of it, we've got the ability to control our rear wiper. From there, we can turn that on or off. Now, pulling towards us is going to be good for our front windshield. And then pushing the stick away is going to be for our back wiper. So let's flip to the back for a sec. So very straightforward there. And that's going to be the basics of the steering wheel for the Bronco Sport.